Hi, good day, friends and SAP consultants and users. It's nice to bring this training to you once again. It's your SAP consultant, Adiele Kelechi. And today we're actually going to be looking at, we're going to be digging deep into the introduction to SAP S4 HANA. I know out there you have a lot of videos showing you, wonderful people have made great videos, but the special thing about the video or the special thing about this training session is that we're going to really look deeper into what the concept of SAP S4 HANA is. We're actually going to look at its transition from ECC and we're going to also look at the FICO module and, of course, the changes that has happened in the S4HANA system. So thank you very much. Sit back and relax. Let's go into this course right now. Okay, so what's the plan for this training? By the end of this training, we should actually understand ECC and HANA, and also S4 HANA and the RO3 system. We're actually going to be looking at what the new SAP system, of course, S4 HANA is all about. We'll look at the benefits of the S4 HANA system and why companies and enterprises should exploit or adopt them. We're going to outline the motivation for SAP S4 HANA. We understand the changes and, of course, review the SAP S4 HANA FICO business process and transactions. Okay, so basically, this is going to be a very brief but very detailed session. About S4 HANA, S4 HANA was released on the 3rd of April 2015. Of course, it's an ERP, what we call Enterprise Resource Planning Business Suite. It is optimized for SAP HANA in-memory database. So basically, when we go deeper, you're going to see the concept of the in-memory database. Like we said, HANA actually runs on the RAM instead of the hard drive. And we're going to see how part of its transformation from the ECC database down to the S4 HANA database. We're going to see some of those features. Now, HANA stands for, in case you didn't know, High Performance Analytical Appliance. SAP S4 HANA is a short form for the SAP Business Suite for SAP HANA, meaning that it's the 4th version of the SAP Business Suite, but it's designed to run only on the HANA database. So one point you should note is that it's an in-memory database application. Second is that the S4 HANA as a software sits on the HANA database and can only run on the SAP HANA database. So SAP HANA is the database, S4 is the suite, and of course Fiori, which we are going to see later, is actually the presentation layer. Okay, so the most noteworthy attribute of the S4 HANA is the simplicity and the ability to work on large volumes of data. Both are better as compared to, of course, some of the predecessors like the RO3 and RO4. Okay, so basically it is worthy to note the simplicity and the speed at processing large volumes of data. That is one, those are some of the key strengths of the S4 HANA of the HANA database. Now, ECC versus HANA. Put simply, ECC is the ERP system and business suite core. HANA, it's more like the database. HANA is an in-memory database designed to handle transactions and analytics on one system. So One of its strengths is that it does both the transactional data, OLAP, online analytical processing, and the OLTP, online transaction processing, on one system. It was originally intended for data math and data warehousing, but has since grown into an all-in-one data platform that manages analytical transactions or data, transactional data, and of course, Fiori app development. Now let's look at the ECC. SAP ECC simultaneously integrates digital information. Sorry about that. ECC simultaneously integrates digital information into different areas of business database system. Now, ECC is on premise, whereas users can deploy HANA. Of course, we have the on-premise version, we have the cloud, and we have the hybrid version. But ECC is actually an on-premise system. On-premise means that it has to be hosted in a particular location. It has to have, it uses the local area network system, and it has to sit in a particular location. The database. Why HANA can be deployed using 3 different routes. It can be deployed on premise. It can be deployed, of course, in the cloud. And also you can have a hybrid version of both the cloud and on premise. In a nutshell, SAP S4 HANA is the ERP system. HANA is the database on which it runs. So the system where the processing of the transaction happens is on the S4 HANA. The HANA database is actually where the information sits, and of course, interpretation of data. And the presentation layer, as when we go deeper, I would see that Fiori is actually the presentation layer. Okay, so let's look deeper into S4 HANA and some of its core functionality. S4 HANA was specifically written to run in the HANA memory database. So it was programmed. Remember, S4 HANA is the ERP system. It's the system where you have to actually, the system that actually processes the data, and cannot run on any other database. So it is S4 HANA ERP is built to run on only HANA, the HANA memory database. SAP released S4 HANA in 2015, and users view it as the next generation successor to the SAP Business Suite. S4 HANA is designed to solve more complex problems and manage larger amounts of data than its predecessor, the SAP ECC and the R3. It is available both on-premise and in the cloud, as we have said. Okay, so basically, though S4 HANA originated in HANA, the two systems are very different. For starters, HANA is the in-memory database and the application development platform. Thanks to HANA in-memory computer database infrastructure, analysts don't have to waste time loading or writing back data. Developers can also create and run customized application on top of HANA. So basically, HANA, as we have seen, runs on an in-memory database structure, which uses the RAM of the system. And it's also an application development platform. So other programs can actually be customized. Other applications can be customized on the HANA database platform. So this is an overview of some of the very key functionality of the S4 HANA. Of course, so we can see that some good records. We can see the artificial intelligence feature. Of course, the ability to predict. We can see also the machine learning activities. Of course, the ability to prescribe and analyze data. We have also seen the predict maintenance feature. predict hardware maintenance. We can also see the customer experience platform. US customers say customer experience needs to be improved. So these are just basically reports or feedbacks that has been gotten as at the deployment of the S4 HANA. So we're actually seeing the overview of the feedbacks. Now, the S4 HANA Enterprise Management, you can see the core, the digital core, what we call the modules or the core functionality, the digital transformation that S4 HANA has brought into the system. You can see the different modules. We have the Concur, we have the field glass that handles human resources. These are basically standalone applications that can actually fit into the HANA enterprise management system. We can see the S4 HANA manufacturing, S4 HANA supply chain, S4 HANA asset management. So you can procure these features as a standalone feature and integrate them to your S4 HANA if you wish to. Some companies might not want to buy, the full version. They might decide to want to get specific products for specific use. And the S4 HANA Enterprise Management have been able to develop this functionality. So for enterprise solution, SAP S4 HANA is not a single product. Now customers can start with the basic components and add to them later. So these are what we call the basic components that S4 HANA actually is offering. SAP S4 HANA Enterprise Management is a great place to start. This is known as the simplified core. So you can start from any of those modules and of course, grow your business as you progress. And we also have consultants who are actually who have skills in these various areas. Now, the line of business application refers to one of the set of critical computer applications that are vital to running an enterprise. Of course, it depends on your line of business. Now, why SAP S4 HANA? First, SAP S4 HANA is built on an SAP HANA database in memory. So we can inherit all the capabilities of this powerful data management and application platform. It includes advanced text mining, predictive analysis, simulations, powerful real-time decision support, and of course, predicting, using data. Of course, we have a brand new user experience, which is delivered to improve productivity and satisfaction of business users and brings the interface up to a customer grade experience on any device. So, of course, if you're using the SAP cloud version, you can actually display you can actually have access to your SAP on any device, as long as that device has an internet. The data model has been massively simplified. This means that we lost unnecessary tables. Of course, part of the new changes from ECC to S4 is that some aggregate tables that were actually used to run both analytical and transaction data has been scrapped. We now have the universal journals and of course the compatibility views. Okay, this means to shrink footprint dramatically and simplify the application and design extensibility. So when tables were actually discarded, it gave the opportunity to reduce the volume of data, the improve on the speed of processing transactions because it is now lighter, and it has made the system simple. It has created simplicity and the ability to extend to other applications. Okay, so of course we have other solutions that SAP S4 HANA has delivered. So we have the Ariba, which is cloud application. Basically, it's used to manage businesses of all sizes, and you can be able to connect to trading partners at anywhere. Of course, it's built on a commerce network. We have Concord Travel and Expense Web, web solutions for travel and expense management. We have Success Factor, which is the HCM software. We have the Field Glass, which provides cloud-based vendor management system. We have the C4, help businesses around the globe to sell more goods and services. S4 HANA can be deployed on premise. We have said that the data model has been simplified, massively simplified. This means that we lost, of course, we have removed some tables that used to take a lot of time to process transactions. Of course, well, the intelligent enterprise, you can see the line of businesses, supply chain, manufacturing, asset accounting, the end-to-end processes. We have the design to operate. We can, of course, do your configurations in the area of finance, lead to cash, order to cash, source to pay, it's HSM, services and professional services. You can see that the bottom line is actually to automate the process, ensure that we have the best practice and standardization. And the idea is for operational excellence and innovation. And this is actually the SAP Intelligent Enterprise model. Okay, so basically, let's see how SAP actually came about developing this very innovative and digital transforming product. Now, SAP has worked closely with customers to identify where digitalized operation could provide the most value. So before they actually went into the S4 HANA project, there were a lot of interaction with both customers, consultants, industry leaders. The result is a massive wave of simplification. I believe one of the feedbacks was that the ECC platform was very difficult to navigate. There were a lot of processes, a lot of transaction codes, So I believe, and of course, data migration was a little bit tedious. Things like reporting, you had to move from one table to another. So I believe the S4 HANA actually tried to simplify the process and introduce innovation in the core that covers critical business processes in finance, service, sourcing, and procurement. These are the core modules in the S4 HANA database. Now, SAP Intelligent Enterprise represents the core solutions covering all mission critical processes of an enterprise. So it's actually tried to cover the end-to-end of all business processes. Now, let's look at the core areas. Of course, we have the order designed to operate. We have the core finance. We have the lead to cash. We have the source to pay. These are core and core business processes that the SAP S4 HANA system actually covers. Okay, well, by intelligent enterprise, of course, we mean that the companies build a new platform for core business processes and bring together business processes with analytics in real time. So, of course, part of the changes that has to do with the excommunication of tables, aggregate tables, and various tables in the system actually helped enable that the system worked smarter and faster and simpler. And of course, data analytics is the core of any software in this time, because businesses generate lots of data as they run the software. So the ability for the system to use functionalities like AI and machine learning to be able to read into those data, to predict and to analyze is one of the key of the S4 HANA system. Of course, we have the machine learning technologies, that has made the software more intelligence, more of an intelligent enterprise. Of course, the key aspect of S4 HANA, we have the native capabilities like the universal journal, which is a single source of truth. We have the combination of OLAP and OLTP, online transaction processing. We have the concept of simplicity. We have also some of the changes that happen in some of those modules. So we have the choice of deployment, we have the user experience in the area of the Fiori, we have the footprint resorption, of course, it's communicating of terminating a lot of tables, and we have the work patterns. So these are the key aspects of the S4 HANA system. Of course, features, some of the features that the S4 HANA system has introduced that is not in the ECC. We have smaller total data footprint as a result of termination of a lot of tables. We have higher throughput. It's lighter, it's smarter, it's simpler. Of course, fast analytics and reporting. Both online transaction processing and online SQL processing happens on one system. So the system actually, of course, using the ACDOCA table. So we just have two tables, BFPK and the, of course, which is the header, and the line item, which is ACDOCA. So it has actually made analytics and reporting very fast and accurate. We have the various new modules that have been introduced. We have unlimited workload capacity as a result of making excommunicating a lot of issues like redundancies within the ECC system. We have multi-tenancy, different forms of ownership. We have different texts. We have the new SAP Fiori user experience, where you can actually use your S4 HANA on mobile devices, tablets, phones. We have, of course, the flexibility of deploying the S4 HANA in 3 options or 3 deployment options. You can do on-premise, you can do public cloud, and of course, you can have a managed cloud, or like ECC that is just on-premise. Well, this is just to highlight some of the most important aspects. Of course, we have brand new user experience. We have also discussed this. We have the various deployment options. We have data models that have been massively simplified. This means that we have lost, we've been able to lose a lot of unnecessary tables, in order to shrink footprint dramatically. We have seen the simplicity of the application, of course, the design and the extensibility. You can build other applications on the HANA database. Okay, so basically this is the ECC versus the in-memory database platform. So you can see how data was moving, but in HANA, everything actually is in one, both analytics and transactional. Okay, so we will look at some of the, of course, one of the features is the online transaction processing and online ethical processing that happens together in the system. Unlike the ECC, where these tables or these processes happens at different times. OLTP, of course, and OLAP, were separated in the ECC. But in the HANA database, HANA can handle both the OLTP and OLAP processes from a single data model. So there is no need to move transaction data to a separate system. In the ECC, when you are done with your transaction process, you move it to another data for it to do the analytical processing. But in S4 HANA, those two processes happen at the same time. So it's a big improvement in how the system actually gives feedback to the client. This means that transactions and analytical applications run off the same tables, and data is available in real time at every level of detail. Very, very strong point. Okay, we'll look at the business agility. System needs to be able to support massive, increase business agility and needs to instantly react to users' requests. They've been able to reduce, of course, the footprint from 593 GB to 8.4 GB. And these are basically, improvements. You can run the application on mobile device. You can increase the flow of data through your business application. Response time are shorter. Backup and updates are faster. Restores are faster. Basically, user interface is quite improved. This has actually helped the way businesses carry out their activities in a more agile platform. So this used to be on the ECC platform, this used to be how data used to move. So from tables, it goes to the index table. From the index table, it moves to the index table, it moves to the aggregate table. But this has been cancelled. This does not actually apply. So in the S4 HANA system, you just have two tables that are used to run the system. Okay, so basically this is the discussion. Basically it was complex, with all these tables, but now S4 HANA actually organizes data using the column stores, which means indexes are usually not needed. That's the index table is no longer needed. They can still be created, but usually offer minor improvements. So in addition to losing the aggregates and index tables from the database, you can remove large amounts of application code that deals with aggregate and index tables. So these two tables have been scrapped along with a lot of tick transaction codes. And we're going to see that as we go on. And so this is basically to bring you up to speed to the improvements that S4 HANA has actually brought into the SAP space. And of course, the ERP space. Now, understanding the user experience, part of the new introduction of S4. We have, of course, the Fiori app, which the main drivers of this phenomenon, as of course, we're looking at having access to your data using your smartphones and your tablets. Business softwares must adapt and transform to turn its strength to its maximized advantage for the role of the enterprise. Of course, with a more simplified user interface, and easy to navigate through. SAP has got that right. In the beginning, it was helpful to, navigating through used to be a huge task, but bringing in the Fiori app has changed the game in the ERP space. So these are some of the user interface. So let's look at Fiori as the new user experience. So in the past, users could find themselves working with different interfaces at the same time. Each one with a looks completely different. With SAP Fiori, users require little training because the screens are simple, they're intuitive, and only essential information or options are available to the user. So let's say, for example, a user who his task is only to process invoices. You don't need to give that user all the interfaces. Just give him the interface that has to do with his core role, and it just makes life a little bit easier. The SAP GUI is still available, which most users are used to in the ECC platform, but you can use this alongside with the Fiori. And but we recommend using Fiori to take a full advantage of the features of the SAP S4 HANA platform. So Fiori is basically the application that is role-based. It can be accessed from any device. And when I mean role-based, you can actually give a user a role that that fits its responsibility or its function. So a key goal of SAP S4 is to ensure that the user can complete a task with a few clicks as possible. That's the key functionality of the Fiori app. So I mean, it's the look, the feel looks good. You have quick access to the jobs you're doing. You can interact. The navigation is simpler. And application in design using a methodology called design thinking, which is user-centric and the solution-based approach to software and user interface design. So the system is also intuitive. You can assign roles according to the user functions. So simplicity in user experience is key for the Fiori user interface. So when you log in and you get hold of a Fiori app, the looks it's exactly what you can see. The Fiori app has three application areas. You can use it for transactional, you can do analytics, and of course you can have fact sheets. Okay, so transactional means processing transactions. Analytics tools like the analysis, the graphs, the charts, exploration, data mining. You can do that using your Fiori. And fact sheet actually looks at business subjects, name of employees, working hours, vacations, and all that. These are core to actually giving the user and the business a very wonderful experience. So transactional, handles by the ABAP team, and analytical handles handled by the S4 HANA. So basically, we have talked about these three apps, and the traditional apps use ABAP to provide classic approach for functions of business systems. So the ABAP is the programming side of SAP. Analytical apps use analytical capabilities of SAP S4 HANA to provide insights into business data. Factsheet uses enterprise search capabilities of S4 to provide search results. Very, very, very. In fact, the App Finder is a great tool that has been added into the Fiori app that can help you search for any app without necessarily remembering any transaction code. That's a big improvement in SAP. Okay, so for role-based user experience, of course, I mean, it's delightful to work with the Fiori app. It's coherent, informations informations you need are actually there. Fiori has to consistent interaction and visual design language. You can also change your languages. It is simple. You can complete your job intuitively and quickly, and you can search for any information you want to get. It's adaptive, enables you to work how and where you want, regardless of the device you use. So these are the four core cardinals of the role-based functionality in SAP. Of course, we have the search navigation area where you can search for any information you're looking for within the SAP S4 HANA space. Just quickly, we are going to actually go fully into SAP S4 HANA Finance in our next class. But just look at some of the main difference between SAP FICO, which happens in ECC, and S4 HANA Finance is the technology used in them. SAP FICO works on the ECC model, while SAP S4 Finance, which we call Simple Finance, is based on the in-memory HANA database, which works on cloud technology. So basically, that is the difference. FICO is for the ECC space, and S4 HANA Finance is actually in the S4 HANA space. We're going to go, we're not going to spend much time here because this course is just for the for discussion on S4 HANA. We're going to go deeper into finance when we get to our next class. But let's look at basically some of the changes that has happened. So what are the functions that makes the major difference between SAP FICO and S4 HANA Finance? So let's look at some of the changes that has happened. And one is the introduction of the Fiori app, like I said, that makes it has replaced or is replacing the GUI interface. It can be accessed anywhere. It's informative. It's an interactive app. Ledgers, of course, in FICO we have para ledgers as part of the new GL. While the ledgers in SAP S4 HANA Finance, we have, of course, we have the extension ledgers, we have the simulation ledgers, we have 3 core ledgers, within the S4 HANA space. These are used for different purposes. With addition to the parallel ledger, posting are physically made to both the leading ledger and parallel ledger. Of course, and each can be assigned its own, fiscal period and its own functionalities. Okay, whereas you need to link the extension ledger to a base ledger and only take delta postings, that's in the ECC. However, you cannot use extension ledger and asset accounting. There are now 8 additional freely defined currencies available in SAP S4 HANA. Unlike the ECC where you have 3, in S4 HANA you have 8 freely defined currencies available. So this is the very big difference within FICO and S4 HANA finance space. Now, data structure and of S4 HANA Finance. In S4 HANA Finance, the calculation is on the fly. It means that you no longer require index tables along with aggregate table stores. These have been removed. So the following, of course, you will no longer see these tables. You're going to miss them, yes, but these tables are no longer necessary. The universal journal and the concept of simplicity, has actually taken away some of these tables. Now we have some of the changes. The change in open and closing posting period, OB52. An additional column appears in OB52, opening and closing period, for posting control into finance. Although still OKP1 is still required in the CO. So you have an additional table that shows you the controlling to finance posting period. Very, very important change. Of course, for COPA, which has to do with your profitability analysis, in S4 HANA, you must activate the account-based profitability. You can use a costing-based COPA in parallel. Yeah, you can use both. The process flow in SAP S4 HANA is much simpler than COPA process in FICO. So these are the different costing parameters. So this is one of the, in account-based profitability, we look for the values by account. We can use the exact same format for income statement. While the costing-based profitability analysis, you can assign values to key figures and fields. So these are few changes. Of course, revenue and profitability, cost of goods sold, variance analysis. These are some changes have actually happened, using this various functionality. So in general, revenue posting to account-based profitability analysis are easy because sales account already flows into the GL. For cost of goods sold, which is also a method of running your COPA, SAP S4 Finance provides new options that allow organizations to break out their costs to these separate accounts. So you can actually structure your cost. Costing is more simplified and more broken down. For variance, provides the same functionality of account-based profitability analysis, allowing organizations to break out their price difference into separate accounts representing scrap, price variances, and resource usage variance. So this functionality was not actually available in the ECC platform. So you can take advantage of this and discuss with your consultant on some of these new changes. Of course, allocation and settlements in CO, there were no changes to this. However, it makes sense to revisit your chart of accounts to check that the accounts you will use to record the allocation and marketing costs and all these other costs. So you have to also do those checks. Quantities, in addition to reviewing the revenues and costs associated with cost of goods, their goods and services, may also analyze the volume of cost of sales, and you can have that within the S4 HANA finance space. Yeah, the Universal Journal. The Universal Journal is an important section of HANA finance. Its main functionality is to analyze the major impacts of the S4 HANA finance table architecture designed on the general ledger accounting. So furthermore, Universal Journal also checks the impact of business transactions and configuration changes. So you have the Universal Journal, which, and of course, the compatibility views, which have come. The compatibility views talks about the two tables, BKPF and the ACDOCA. The Universal Journal, like you can see, is used to analyze the major impact of the S4 HANA finance table architecture. Universal Journal is known as the single source of truth, and it can be used for different modules. This includes, finance, CO, COPA, and the rest of them. So instead of having different sources of truths, in SAP S4 HANA, you just have a single source of truth for finance. Of course, you can see the difference between the tables. This is the ACDOCA table, the universal line item table. There's a single source of truth. In single source of truth, of course, the FI and CO integration has been scrapped in S4 HANA, in ECC. In S4 HANA, FI and CO are integrated at the GL level in your FS00. So where you're creating your GLs now, you can create your secondary and primary cost elements at the GL level. So that signifies that you have a single source of truth platform, or you can actually, that makes for, getting information from one source. Very, very important. So finance and controlling are merged to avoid data duplicity and need for reconciliation. So you do not need any reconciliation again between FICO. FICO integration also becomes obsolete, and ACDOCA stores controlling data in SAP. Furthermore, both the GL account and the customer are merged together. So these are some of the very important changes that has happened. Of course, we know the primary and secondary cost elements. Now you have to set those up at the GL level. Of course, the concept of business partner, very, very important. You can now easily maintain customer and vendors using the business partner functionality. Of course, we have scrapped the FK01, FD01 T codes. You just have the transaction code BP that you use to actually run your business partner transactions. Line items, of course, the old reports such as ever still exist with FBL 1H. Of course, the ACDOCA is the compatibility view that handles the line item display. Now we have, of course, other elements like the credit management that has been introduced, material ledger, legacy system migration workbench. It has replaced the old, of course, LSMW is still available, but it's not enough. It's not being used. We have another functionality that is used for data migration within the S4 HANA space. Okay, of course, in new asset accounting, there has been some changes also. Thus, the difference with the FICO finance is now you don't need to set up delta depreciation areas where you have additional accounting principles. In your Asset Explorer, you have accounting principles also as part of your views. However, you need to have one-to-one match of each currency and ledger in finance with a depreciation area in accounting. The SKBE to post additional depreciation periodically has been removed, has been scrapped. Depreciation post on a real-time basis, not periodically. This is because you now post all the position areas to finance in real time. Subsequently, all the postings are in real time. You can navigate and drill down to, in most of the finance functionality. Of course, we have explained earlier that these tables, different asset tables are also now part of the ACDOCA. The precision run has been improved, and the precision journal contains asset information like the line item view. Now, with all these new features, SAP has taken a leap in its ERP functionality. It has made its user experience ever best. With the in-memory technology and the processing speed, of course, we have the in-memory technology functionality. It has improved, has reduced data footprint. It has actually, improved the speed of processing transactions. We have the Fiori app that you can access from anywhere. You have the universal journal that handles the single source of truth. You have the compactivity. You have the scrapping of index tables and aggregate tables. These are major changes. Consequently, the effects of S4 HANA has also impacted financial accounting too. It has become more advanced than the FICO, which is based on the ECC platform. Still, it's important to learn FICO in order to get an edge on the S4 HANA finance database. In conclusion, basically, these features have created a significant difference between ECC-based FICO and S4 HANA Finance. I hope you have learned something new today. Basically talking about the changes that have happened over the years in the ERP space, and also looking at the major digital transformation process that has happened, within the S4 HANA system, and of course the new products that have actually come, that has actually come about through this innovative, technology that has been produced, the HANA database platform, the major changes that have happened. I'm sure that you have learned, you've taken your time to actually see these changes and appreciate these changes. And I also want you to, if you require training, if you require support, reach me through my YouTube channel. You can send me a link. I can also briefly, do you my email. Just add that here, so you can, why not write me my email. You can do me an email, or you can, send me a WhatsApp message on this number. Yeah, so thank you very much for your time. And please, if you get to see the video on YouTube, kindly share and like, and let people know. It's important that we know these differences. It also helps us as both users and consultants to actually communicate these changes with the clients and the business. Do have a nice day and stay safe.